Hello guys, welcome to this Webpack Ultimate course. So in this video, I will actually show you how to set up Webpack for a front-end development environment. If you are using VS Code, I will show you step by step, and it will actually compile all your assets, CSS, SAS code, and also your ES6 JavaScript code into a minified code that you can actually run it in the browser. So you can see we are actually having this directory structure. So inside the source directory we have the assets folder where you can actually place your image file. So we have this nice little svg file right here. Then we have the SAS file which it actually compiles to CSS. So a Webpack which will actually compiles this SAS file to CSS. And then we have this JavaScript file right here which actually uses ES6 modules, which uses import statements, there's export statements. So you can just clearly see this code if you want to directly use this code in the browser. SAS is not, browser doesn't understand SAS, browser doesn't understand these import statements. So if you want to directly execute it, this code will not execute. That's why the compiler, the bundler Webpack exists. So we have this index.js file which actually is the main point of our application. So right here we are importing this generate joke, and we are importing our SAS files, the svg file, and then we are directly binding everything which is actually present this inside this template.html. So right inside this we have this image, we have this h3 tag, we have the div, so we have this button. So essentially what we are doing in this application, we are making a simple Axios call to the REST API to actually generate a random joke. And also we are using a Lodash library, which is both the require syntax and also the import statement. So if you want to import the third-party NPM modules, which can be CommonJS, which can use ES6 mod import statement. So you can see we are using require and import in the same file. So you can use both these modules. So this is actually our main Webpack config JS file. So for your Webpack project, you need to initialize this Webpack config file, which actually I will show you, explain you all these options in detail, which option means what. So in this demo video, I just want to show you the demo right here. So in the package.json file, if you see, we have these two scripts right here. If you want to build your project for production, we will execute this command, build command. If you want, if you are developing your project, if you are on a development environment, you will execute this command, which is npm run dev. So first of all, what I will do, I will simply run the development command, and npm run dev dev. So what it will do, it will start a local development server where it supports hot reloading. So if you make any sort of change, the application will restart. You no longer need to every time run this command. So it is just starting. So it is actually building your all your assets which is actually present, the svg, the SAS file, the JavaScript code. So now you can see it has been initialized, and your server is listening. It has automatically opened at localhost 3000. And also it also comes with the bundler analyzer. So here you can actually see which libraries are taking which space. So you can see we are using the Lodash library, which is taking a lot of space, so that's why it is highlighted. You can even zoom in as well. So these are different packages that we are using. So Webpack bundler analyzer actually allows you to actually see which modules is taking which kind of space as well. So this is our simple app. We have this simple joke which is actually fetched from a REST API. We are using a Axios third-party Node.js module, and you can see that if I click the button, a random joke pops in. So we have actually used this SVG image that we are displaying it right here in the browser. So this is the same SVG image which we stored in the assets. So you can just see if I make any sort of change, if I want to change my SAS file, if I pick another background color, so it actually supports hot reloading. So as you change your code, it will hot auto reload. So now what we'll see, it will automatically refresh. I haven't refreshed the page, the application has restarted. So you can see I've made a change in my SAS file. Similarly, you can add some let's suppose you can add an alert statement. in the JavaScript. So if I just make this change, you will actually see the application Webpack will automatically restart your application. So it will build out. You will see now hi world. So you can just see. So it is just saying that entry point size limit, the following entry point combine asset size. Okay. So this can happen sometimes if your size of the image is pretty large. So what I will do, I will simply remove it. So now it will automatically restart. So that's not a problem. It was just my local machine problem. So now the second thing, guys, if you want to bundle everything, if you are deploying this project to production, you will use the second command, which is the build command. So what you will see, you will simply write this command npm run build. So you can just see on the left hand side, as I run this command, a folder will be created, a dist folder. Once again, it will start this application. But now you will see actually your dist folder is created, and you will actually see a bundle file has been created, and also the source map file is also being generated, which is really useful if you want to debug your code. So this is your minified index.html file right here. You can directly run this as well, or it has started this. If you see, it has started this bundler analyzer, which is localhost 888, localhost 888. So here it comes with the bundle that you are, so it clearly shows which library is taking the most space. So you can see index.js plus 52 modules concatenated, and this Lodash library taking the most space. So it clearly shows you in the bundler analyzer. And now this is your application. You can even run this with live server as well, which is a VS Code extension. And now your application runs. You can click the button and a random joke will pop in. So this is actually the setup that I will show you guys, how to actually set up this, the Webpack environment. You can actually develop any application, React application, Vue application. You can use any front-end framework. The setup will remain the same. You need to initialize a webpack config.js file with all the options. I will show you step by step. So we will see you guys in the next video. We will start setup. Now to get started, guys, I will simply make a new directory to actually set up the Webpack environment. So I will cd into the root directory. I will just make a new directory, Webpack environment. I will cd into the folder and open it inside VS Code. So you can see we are starting it from scratch. So the very first thing you need to do, you need to initialize the package.json file. So npm init -y, so it will create this with the default options. And also we need to create two directories. First is the source directory, where we will actually be writing the actual source code, which needs to be compiled by Webpack. And then we need to install Webpack as a dev dependency. So you will simply say -d, and then let me just open my zoom it tools so that I can zoom in to the screen so that you can clearly see what I am executing. So now we actually need to install this Webpack and Webpack CLI tool as a dev dependency. So we actually added this -d flag, which actually stands for, it is not production level dependency, it is just used for the development. So it's a dev dependency. We are using the Webpack, which is the main compiler and the bundler, and then the Webpack CLI, which actually support all these commands to actually build your application or and start it in a development environment. So install it npm-i-d. So if you see, after this, it will actually inside your package.json, it will actually add this inside the dev dependencies. So we are using the latest version of each dependency. So if I show you my node version, which is 20, I think I'm using the latest version, which is 20.9.0. You can see. So now the next thing we need to do, we need to actually write some code right here. So we can create a folder in this styles folder. So just create a file right here, which I will call this as template.html. Okay, let me just first of all create the file and then create the directory. So right in the source directory, we'll create a folder called file template.html. So here we'll be writing the HTML code, and then we will have a styles directory, and then we also will be having a assets directory where you will actually store all your images. So if you want to use your images inside the application, you will store it. So one such image I will create is joke image. So I will simply say joke.svg. So I have this code of this. So this is not mandatory that you want to use the same code. I am just showing you a very basic example. You can write your own code as well, so it's not mandatory that you want to do this. So we have this image which is stored assets, and then inside the styles I will define my style sheet. So I will call this style.sass. So it is actually using the sass file, which is not understandable by browser directly. You can't execute sass, so it needs to be compiled to css. So I will actually paste the sample code of sass just to save some time, because this video is not about the overall application. I just want to set this application. So we have defined the sass file, so it actually uses the concepts of sass. So we have defined some variables right at the top, which of primary color, secondary color, box shadow. So this is the advantage of using sass, because you can actually change the variables and it will reflect in all these locations at once. So after you define this, come to the template.html. So here you will define a very basic example. So I will say Webpack example. So you can even change this title dynamically as well using, when we define the webpack config.js file, I will show you how to change this title and how to get this title dynamically. For the time being, we will simply be having a simple index.html. So what I will do, inside the HTML, we will have a simple container class, and here you will be having the image. So this image will be present inside. So we'll just give it an ID for now. We will not be attaching it directly. We will using the JavaScript for that, and we will have a h3 tag jokes app. Then we will define a simple div tag. We will give it an ID of joke and a class of joke as well. After this, we will simply have a button to actually trigger get another joke. So when the user clicks this button, then we will actually make a request to the API to actually fetch the request, fetch the joke and display it. This is all that is required for the HTML. So you can just see we are not including any CSS or JavaScript directly inside template.html. We will do it using Webpack dynamically when we create this file. So now we can create that file simply in the root directory. Just create webpack.config.js. You can just see the icon has also been changed. It has been recognized that it's a webpack config file. So you need to define this file for every webpack project. So here it actually includes all the options which are required. So I will show you step by step. So the very first thing we need to define is actually the module.exports, which is essentially it returns. It's simply a function. Inside this, here you need to define all your, first of all, the mode. So in which mode you are working. So there are essentially two modes, either production or development. So we will simply be saying we are using the development mode because we are developing the application. And then we have the second option, which is actually say the entry file. So which file you need to compile. So essentially we will define a file right in the source directory, which is index.js. So this is actually the entry level file. You can even change the name. So by default, Webpack looks for index.js. You can even change this name as well. So essentially we'll be having a simple, let me install a Axios a package right here. of Lodash and Axios. So these two packages, these two third-party packages, we are installing it from Node. So once you install it, we can use this, simply this package const. We can require this package Lodash. Then we can simply use a simple function of it, which is a chunk function. So if you have an array right here, if you have used Lodash in the past, you will know this function. It will actually divide this array into two elements. So this will be 1, 2, 3. So it will be dividing this array into three pieces. So this is a simple index.js file that we have. So now if you want to compile this, we need to give it in the entry right here. So this will actually say bundle. So here it takes the bundle property, and here you need to provide the path. So now if you want to provide the path, we do need to use the Node.js built-in package, which is path. So we will use this package to actually provide the path. So path.resolve function. So it is present in the source directory / index.js. So if you have any other name, if you have defined the file with any other name, you will provide this name right here. So by default, it is index.js. And then comes the output. So output simply means that whenever you execute the npm run build command, so where will be the output will be stored. So here you can define your directory. By default, the directory name is dist. So again, we'll be defining a path variable. So again, we'll be using path resolve. So dir name and followed by the directory name. So by default, it actually creates a dist directory. You can even change the folder name as well. So you can change it to any folder name. So I will stick to the default option. So then it takes the second option, which is actually the file name. So file name is essentially the one single file which will be created, which will actually contain both your CSS and the JavaScript code. So essentially it is called index.js, but I will change the name. So I can simply write here the name followed by the extension, which is JS. You will also be adding a content hash like this. This is actually the structure. So when your file is generated, it actually also contains a hash value as well, followed by the name. And then we also have some additional options right here. If you want to clean your code, we will simply put it to true. And for now, this is all that we need. And we have defined the entry file. We have defined the output as well. And now if you want to actually, we need to define a script inside package.json. So right in the script section, we can define two scripts, first for the development and second for the build section. So we will simply say Webpack, and the second script for the build. So there is a command in Webpack which will simply Webpack build. Let me cross check. So yeah, Webpack, and for the build, and for the development it is Webpack serve. So okay, for the development, which is Webpack serve, and for the building the project, you will simply say Webpack, that's all. So if you now try to execute this command npm run build, so you will see on the left hand side it will create a dist directory. It will compile all your code. So for the very first time it will take some 5 to 10 seconds. You can see it is now, it has compiled it, it has created this directory, dist directory. If you try to open this directory, it will simply contain a single file, which is bundle file. So no HTML file is there, only the JavaScript is there. You can see the bundle which we define, the name, and followed by the hash symbol right here. So if you want to also create the HTML file as well, we need to provide an option for this. So by default, only this file has been compiled, this index.js, this code that you have written. only this code has been compiled. The Sass code is not been compiled, which is written inside style.sass. So this code is not compiled. For this, you need to additionally install something called as loader, which is there in Webpack, which takes care of any other file that you define, which is Sass file or any other file. So a concept called as loaders, you need to install it. So now we will install those loaders, which will take care for the Sass, which you have defined right here. So what I will do, those components we need to install. So just npm I, and then we again need to install it as a dev dependency -d. So these loaders, which is css dash loader, and then sass double s loader, and then the style loader. So these three loaders are required. If you are using Sass inside your application, you need to install this as a dev dependency: CSS loader, Sass loader, and the style loader. Simply install this. So now after installing this in the webpack config.js file, if you want to install loader, there is this option that you can do this. Put a comma right here after output, and in order to define the loader, we have this module object. So inside this object we have these rules, and here you can provide you can target any file. So this will be an array, so we are targeting multiple files, so it actually contains an array of objects. So the very first object that we are defining, so it actually contains the test value. So this will be a simple regular expression. So here we will target all the files which are ending with sass, SCSS. So $. This is essentially a regular expression. So here it is actually telling the Webpack to actually target all the files which are ending with sass. And the second property is which loader to use. So here the use property is there. So here we'll be using multiple loaders. First will be the style loader. So all the loaders that we have installed, style loader, then we will use the CSS loader, and then we will use the Sass loader like this. So now you can see we are using all these three loaders to actually compile this Sass file, and that's all. And also the second file we will be using is actually, if you have images, right, you can see we are using a SVG file. For that also we need to use the loader for this. So we will define the second object here. So test property here will be essentially be targeting all the images which are ending with .png, .jpg, .jpeg or GIF file. You can provide more extension. And then this is a type asset / resource. So this is constant. You need to copy this if you're using images. So this is required because images are required in every application. So you need to write this. So after doing this, if you execute npm run build again, let me execute npm run build. So now you can see again no HTML file is generated, only the JavaScript file is generated, but now it has compiled the Sass file and also your SVG file as well. But now if you want to also generate this HTML file as well, for that we need to install another plugin which is required in Webpack, which is HTML Webpack plugin. So this actually allows you to actually generate HTML file as well. So there is this, you again -d for dev dependencies. So HTML -webpack -plugin. So this is actually the dependency HTML -webpack -plugin. So simply install this. So this is not a loader, this is a plugin. So Webpack has loaders, it has plugins. So now to initialize a plugin, it is slightly different. So if you come to the file webpack config.js, so we don't need to define it in the module. So just put a comma and we will come to the plugin section. So plugins, and here you will be defining an array. So you can have multiple plugins. So now we will be defining our HTML. First of all, we do need to require it at the top. We forgot, I think, to define it. Okay, we do need to define it at the top, require this as the plugin. HTML webpack HTML webpack plugin, and that's all. So after you require it, now you can instantiate a new reference of this. So HTML webpack plugin. So this takes a object inside this. So the object actually takes the title. So whatever is you want to give the title to your app, you will give the title right here. So let me give here Webpack simple example web app. So you can give your own title, and then you can give the file name. So what file name that you want to generate. So you'll need to generate the default index.html. So you can change the file name as well. And then here you need to provide the template. So here the template, whatever we have defined it, we have stored this inside the source folder, and it is being template.html. So here you need to provide the path of that file. So it takes these three options: the title, file name, and the actual template that it needs to compile. So after that, you can actually replace this dynamic title instead of this static title. So you can actually change this name. So how you need to do this? It's very easy. You just write this percentage is equal to, and then followed by the variable HTML webpack plugin. So this needs to be constant, H needs to be small, W is capital, P is capital. You just make sure that you do this as it is. Dot app options, and it contains a property which we have defined, which is title, and close it. So it will now replace that dynamic title that we have defined right there. So now if you run this npm run build command, so what you will see, so it will now also generate the index.html file as well. So you can see that it will automatically include that bundle file. Automatically, we don't need to include it manually. So if you try to open this app, you open this with live server. Let me see. So you can see that JavaScript code is automatically executed. So you can see we have defined this lodash function, which actually divided the array into three pieces. So you can see whatever is our JavaScript code is actually executed, but the SAS code is not executed. Whatever we defined in the JavaScript, it was converted into the browser code. So now why is not the SAS is applied? Let me see. I think I made some kind of mistake in the, if you also check the title is Webpack simple example app. So the title is also reflecting. I think, let me see the Webpack file. Let me see if I make some kind of error right here. Uh, Rules is, we have defined this everything. So essentially for compiling the SAS, we require to actually include this module. So what I will do, I will simply copy this. I think I made some kind of typo mistake. Let me copy this and paste it. just delete this. This is for JavaScript. If you want to use Babel, I will show you later on how to use Babel, but this is for SAS file, this is for images. So here these are two loaders that we're using, these three loaders that we installed. Okay, this is mode is development. Let me change this to production. I think that was creating some kind of problem. npm run build. So now if you see it, if I open this, let me see guys what is the problem, why it is not executing. Hi guys, I figured out the error. The error was pretty basic. I do need to include the SAS file in the index.js because this is actually the file that we are compiling. So we haven't included the SAS file, and also we haven't included the SVG image. So that's why it was not appearing. So right here we do need to include this. So how we include this? It's very simple. We actually import this at the very top, the SAS file, which we can import this using the import statement. So import, so it is actually presented in the styles folder slash the file name, which is main.sas file. And similarly, we also need to import the, which is joke image from, it is actually present in the assets folder, and then it is actually joke image.svg, sorry, joke, sorry, .svg. So now you can actually add this image to the HTML dynamically using JavaScript. We have given an ID to it, to the image tag. So we can simply use document.getElementById. by ID. So laugh image. If you see the template HTML, we are given this ID. So we are simply targeting it, the element by its ID, and then simply saying laugh image dot source is equal to laugh image. Sorry, this is joke image. Sorry. So after you do this, now hopefully, if I run this command npm run build, you will actually see the SVG file will also get created, but there is a problem which will be there. It is actually saying that this file doesn't exist in the, oh sorry, we have given style CSS, not main CSS. Simply change the name. I think some problem will occur when we execute this, hopefully not. So it is compiling the assets, and if you see now, the image is also generated. It has given a random name to this image, but I will show you how to fix this if you want a original name to be retained. And then this is actually the bundle.js. And hopefully if I try to open this file now in the browser, you will actually see the SAS will also get compiled. You will see that the SAS has also been compiled, and there is a button right here. This doesn't work because we actually doesn't binded anything to this button, but the application is working. And now the thing is that we can actually be having a development server. If let's suppose if I make some kind of change, I don't want to use this npm run build again and again. So for that, there is an actual dependency that you can use, which is a Webpack development server. So there is this dependency npm i-d for saving it as a dev dependency. This actually is Webpack dash dev server. This is the name of this dependency. So this is actually used for development purposes. So if you are developing it, if you make some kind of changes, this development server will hot reload. So simply install this. So after you install it, we do need to configure it. So open your Webpack config.js file, and right here there is an option that you need to add, which is dev server. Right after the output, you can simply give dev server, and it will be an object, and it will take some properties. First is a static property, it's an object, and here you need to give the directory, in which directory you need to say. So I need to actually create a disk directory. So likewise that we done inside the output, when we run the build command, it will also create a disk directory when we run it in the development environment. Just put a comma, and the second, and here the port number, you can control which port number it runs. You can run it 3000 port number, and then opens true. It will actually open it automatically whenever you execute this. And then the hot reload functionality to also true, it will also automatically restart. And compress, so gzip compression is there automatically, so just put it to true, so your assets and files will be compressed using the gzip compression algorithm in the browser. And then this last property is this history API fallback. This option you need to set it to true, like this. So after you do this, now there we, if I execute this command now, npm run build, sorry, npm run dev, so it will actually start this development server, npm run dev. So now it will start a local development server on localhost 3000. If you see that, it will automatically open it, and now your application is there. So the thing about this server is that you can make any sort of changes. Let's suppose if you want to change the background color, if you want to change it to a different color, let me change this color. So what you will find, it will automatically reload. You can see that the application changes. You can even change the JavaScript code as well. Let's suppose the main JavaScript code. So if I add an alert statement right here, so if I make this change, you can see I'm not reloading the page. Automatically it execute this. This is meant by the development server, which Webpack offers. You need to configure like this. And now the next dependency I will show you. If I want to actually retain the original name of this file, joke svg, because it has been replaced by a random name. So if you want to retain the same name, there is an option right here inside your webpack config.js file. So what you need to do, right here in the module, in the type parameter, I think here you need to configure this option. Yeah, in the output object right here, there you need to add another property, which is asset module file name. So here you're defining whatever is the file name which is given, which is name extension, just the name and extension, that's all. So now if you execute the same command, npm run build, your original file will be retained. So now you can see that the original file name is retained. So this way actually your images, you will actually know which image is this, because it will not be replaced by a random name. So again, if I open this, the functionality remains the same. So whatever is your code is executed. And now we will actually come to the application. We will simply be using Axios. We will simply define a, let's suppose another file right here. You can have multiple files in your project as well. So you can have generate joke.js. So what this file will do, it will actually make a simple Axios request. Let me copy this and paste it. So you can see it, we have defined a simple function, generate joke, which actually makes a simple call to the REST API, and it actually binds, it manipulates the inner HTML of the actual joke element in the HTML by response.data.joke. And also we are importing the Lodash library as well right here, but we have done this in the index.js. So I will just simply delete this. Now to import this in the main file, we will simply need to use the import statement so that we can import this. We can import generate joke from this module by using the import statement, and then we will simply be executing this generate joke function. That's all. I will delete this hello alert statement. So once again, if you now build your project, npm run build. So now you can see all your assets, all your JavaScript SAS has been compiled, and now if you try to open this, you will now see if you hit this button. But okay, I do need to attach this to the button as well. So what we will do, go to the index.js. So when we open the application, this function will execute, but also when we click the button as well. So we need to get the button reference. Joke button. So when we click this button, we will execute this method as well. So once again, do this npm run build. So now if you try to open this, click this button. So now you will see as I click the button, random joke is generated and it is fetched from the API and displayed it. So if you see the console as well, the Lodash code is also executed. The Axios is also executed. So this is actually the setup for Webpack. So if you're developing any project using Webpack, you can develop React, Vue, any front-end framework. This is the ultimate setup. You just need to do it once. So you can just make a GitHub repo and then you can clone it anytime whenever you are developing a front-end project. So this makes it really easy for using any third-party modules and then compiling it to a single page application, which you can deploy it in any hosting plan. So the last thing that I want to show you, it also comes with the bundle analyzer. So if you actually build your application, if you want to check out which dependency is taking which space, so there is a specific dependency which is there inside Webpack. So another, we can install it as a dev dependency, which is Webpack bundle analyzer. So simply install this. So the configuration is really simple. Just open your Webpack config.js file and right at the bottom side, we can include this just after it is ending right here in the plugin section. This is also a plugin. So new bundle. So we do need to import this plugin right at the top. Bundle analyzer, and it contains a function which is bundle analyzer plugin. So after you do this, we can simply make a new reference of this new constructor, new bundle analyzer plugin. Just put a semi parentheses. So now if you do this npm run build, so what it will do, it will also open a new port for the bundle analyzer. So here you can check which modules it is taking which space. So Lodash is actually taking the most of the space, and then which is index.js plus 52 modules concatenated into a single file. So this is actually the overall structure of your project, and this is really useful whenever you're developing a large project. You will be able to see which modules are taking the most of the space. So that was the ultimate tutorial, guys, of using Webpack in any setup in VS Code. So thank you for watching this video, and I will be seeing you in the next video.